the biggest single tool that has aided my creativity is meditation. I start off every morning with meditation. Meditation is one form of what I call cultivating intuition or consciousness. Breath work is another. There are different tools to make yourself open to receiving. And I do schedule my creativity, and I think it's important to do so because I think that what I like to say is the muse is attracted to dedication, right? So the muse doesn't just it can just hit you in the middle of nowhere when you're in line at the grocery store or whatever. But for me, it's about making my creative practice similar to a spiritual practice. Okay, so I show up every morning to create. Every morning I have 3 hours blocked off to be in that creative flow. So that's something that's for me pretty much non-negotiable. I show up every morning. I have my meditation, then I've got my tea, I've got my instrumental music playing, and I really open my notebook. And this, I'm a writer, so this works for me, but it can probably be applied to other forms of creativity as well. And I really try to make myself a vessel to see what's trying to come through me. So I don't think with my head, I feel with my body, and I feel what is trying to come through me. What is the muse trying to say through me? And I don't measure myself by output. So like some people have a word count they want to get to every day. I have to write 1,000 words every day minimum, and that's my word count. That can work. I don't do that. I let myself be guided. So some days might be super productive, or I let a lot of things come out, and they're great ideas, and I have like 5 pieces of content to share or whatever. Some days it's just not there. So I don't beat myself up for not producing, because at least I showed up. So I show up, but when I'm showing up, I'm giving myself a lot of room to flow. So it's kind of a mix of being dedicated and diligent, but also open to receive. And I don't pressure, the outcome. So for me, it's truly about cultivating your consciousness so you're not always thinking, but you're listening. And meditation has been the most helpful for me in doing that.
Beautiful. Is there a particular flow to this meditation? I know you started with like 3-hour meditations to now 20 minutes, but is there like a general frame that you go, well, this is kind of what you want to think about or if you're willing to share exact practice, that works too, but even just general terms works.
Well, so I do 2 things. One is meditation, and the other is more just meditative. Okay. So my meditation is super simple, super classic. I sit there in an upright position, close my eyes, and take deep breaths and focus on each inhale and exhale. And that's really it. When just like if thoughts come into your mind, just kind of ignore them. I call it like listening to the space between your thoughts. Mm-hmm. The mind's always got thoughts, but can you just loosen the rigid lines of your conscious mind, and just try to focus on that empty space between your thoughts where it's more spacious. I think that's how you cut through. The thoughts are like the clouds in the sky, but when we can focus on that empty space between our thoughts, we're cutting through beyond the range of our conscious mind. Because I think the best ideas do not come from the conscious mind, they come from beyond. And intuition is the portal that connects us to those thoughts or those insights. So again, about like 10 minutes of just like classic meditation. But when I'm writing and I'm creating, I'm still in a meditative space. So like one thing you can do, for example, is I call it asking the universe a question. So like you might pose a question to the universe, like, what is the best way for me to do X, Y, or Z? Like, if you could be working on a program, writing something, you might feel a block somewhere. Like, how am I supposed to get, what's the solution here? You simply pose the question to the universe, and you just sit in stillness and wait for a response. and don't rely on your, we always want to figure things out, like solve it. But it's not about solving, it's about receiving. So pose a question to the universe and sit in stillness and wait for an answer and see what comes through. And more often than not, that leads me to a better solution than I would have if I was trying to mastermind it on my own devices.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what I'm hearing is that set up, yes, you want a container so you can listen.
Yes.
It's mostly a container to be able to listen.
Right.
And you set it up the way you can. I mean, not everybody will have the availability of being able to sit with that meditative state for 3 hours. I'm not sure how our listeners would be right now, but create a space. I think that's the key message here.
Yep.
Create space so you can listen to when your intuition is willing to talk.
Yes.
And then set yourself up with some kind of practice. One of them could be a meditative practice where you're listening between the spaces, so you're tuned in and turned on.
Yes.
And then just listen and download whatever comes through.
Absolutely. And I would add, because you said, you've got to create that space, and that in more ways than one. Because I believe in, like, again, my creative practice is similar to a spiritual practice. So I believe in setting the environment, right? So having I call it like making an environment that is attractive to the muse, right? So, lighting some Palo Santo, playing some nice music, keeping your room clean, keeping your space where you create clean. I think there's a correlation between, the cleanliness of mind and cleanliness of space. So I really try to, almost make it a sanctuary. And I even treat my office like, I call it like an artist altar. So I surround myself with artifacts of my favorite creators. This could be like first editions of some of my favorite books, or, like framed pictures of some of my favorite artists, in the same way that, someone in a spiritual tradition might have their gurus or their gods or whatever on display. I do the same thing, but with my own artistic influences. So it's about also cultivating that environment. So you're really creating a sanctuary where the muse feels attracted to visit.